Dhruvil Sanghvi from a Gujarati business family graduates Carnegie Mellon, joins Deloitte, quits Deloitte, loses his American visa, comes back to Mumbai and founds a business well on its way to $1 billion valuation. How has this happened? And what's driving Dhruvil?
As the world races ahead in an unrelenting sprint towards connected economy, the need for swift logistical solutions continues to surge. In this era of global integration, the demand for secure supply chain management is an absolute necessity to ensure the seamless operation of the worldwide marketplace. Introducing LogiNext, a global technology firm that offers a fast delivery automation platform that helps to make the logistic process seamless and simpler. A young maverick comes to India with a vision to change the logistics sector for good. Dhruvil Sanghvi puts his years of learning in the logistics and big data space together. In 2014, he comes up with a full functioning idea of LogiNext. That idea transformed the way of product delivery. The company's crowning achievement is the integration of real-time tracking and route optimization, revolutionizing logistics efficiency and customer service worldwide. Join us as we explore how a young entrepreneur transformed the logistics industry in less than a decade.
And now let's meet the leader of this really very interesting and fast-growing business, Dhruvil Sanghvi. Dhruvil, welcome to $1 Billion Idea.
Thank you for having me, Jasper.
Okay, I look back at your career and you're 35 years old, right? So I don't have to look back too far. But you're working for Deloitte, you decide to give that up, start your own thing. By giving it up, of course, you lose your US visa. I wind the clock forward to 2023 and it's only 8 years. Your corporate literature talks about you being a masterful mentor, a genius at deciphering the developments of business. How have you managed to achieve all that in such a short time?
I think what I feel is it's still a very long time, because one thing I'd keep telling to my younger self if I had the opportunity is I wish I had started earlier, right? Because in the last 8 years, a lot of consistent building has happened over like small pieces. And I think the biggest thing, that I now kind of, package it really well in hindsight is that building a business is a combination of many small steps that you take consistently in a very resilient manner. And then as long as you just never give up, it keeps growing and building up.
Okay, and we hear that a lot on this show, right? The importance of the process, of persistence and resilience, Dhruvil. But what is it about you, the man, that creates this persistence?
I think it goes back to my upbringing as well, a little bit. I've had, I remember, going back to my 8th grade or 2004, when we used to live in a joint family in a city called Ahmedabad in the state of Gujarat in India, and my family has had has run businesses for several generations. I'm not a first generation entrepreneur, but I was consistently told that at some point, how you truly become successful in especially in my family's eyes, was to create a business of your own or join the family business and kind of grow from that point onwards. To an extent that I have this interesting story where after 10th grade, right, like in India, you have to pick either a science stream or a commerce stream or an art stream. And I was, unconventionally, I was pushed towards taking the commerce stream. And, I was recently, doing fine in my academics to be able to take the science stream as well. I had a little bit of a knack of technology, engineering, and most of my friends were also taking that. But my family kept on pushing me to take commerce, because the question, my father and my uncles used to keep asking me is that, even if you, take science, you'll probably become an engineer, maybe we'll get a job, and that's it. But with commerce, you can get to learn the fundamentals of economics and negotiations and whatnot, and I think that kind of makes you grow faster.
Okay, so to an extent, you were kind of a bit conditioned from a younger age, and actually your business journey started much earlier. Here's a question for you. Do you ever wish they hadn't done that and you'd taken a different path?
I think the reason I took the science stream at the end and I became an engineer was just because of that push that they had for me to take commerce, because I hated that push so much. So in hindsight, yes, I think that push was helpful in a counterintuitive way, where I was being told to do X, but I was rebel enough to do Y.
Okay.
And that Y path actually worked out better for me, while retaining the fundamentals of business, which I had seen and I had consumed from the air around me.
Yeah. And just out of curiosity, congratulations on the birth of your baby girl.
Thank you so much.
She's too young to worry about this now, but do you expect to be like your father to your daughter?
You know what? I don't know. I'm evolving as a parent, as an early parent. But I think two things that I would love to teach her is one, formally teach her and educate her on would be psychology and economics, because I feel the next few years and the world over next couple of decades is largely going to be around these two subjects or the school of thoughts, where if you are an expert of these two, you'll probably the likelihood of your success will be higher. At the same time, of course, we are living in a generation where the expectation from your next generation is kind of generally lower, because we ourselves, like I myself was a rebel at my family, so I would be very much open and okay if my daughter turns out to be a rebel. I'll be happier that way versus trying to push her or convince her very hard to do something.
Let's talk about the idea, right? So it's well documented how you made the leap from working and consulting with A.T. Kearney and Deloitte into LogiNext. So let's not cover that. But when you think about ideas in your business and you're constantly evolving, do you see it as a kind of process? Is it a cultural thing? Talk to us a bit about that, Dhruvil.
I think largely from day one, I've been a process kind of a person, right? So I consider myself as a very highly analytical, process-driven, efficiency and optimization focused person. But as I've grown into this business, and personally also I've grown a lot, I realized that EQ is equally important as IQ, and we sometimes pay a cost of losing some creativity in pursuit of this productivity or efficiency and streamlining and processifying things. And I've at least grown, starting from a very process-driven person to more of an EQ-driven person also, and I'm still kind of growing in that journey right now.
The culture here at LogiNext is very direct. It's very professional. We focus on a lot of processes. We look at detail orientation. We are expecting people to do remarkably well. We expect them to bring military-grade quality to everything that they do.
You've got a wonderful young team here. You've got an employee body of 260 growing all the time, right? How do you motivate and inspire people when the core business is so very dry?
It is. Supply chain software, probably not the sexiest or the coolest thing to do, especially in today's world. But for us, the key focus is not about what industry we are building for. It is about actually solving this very large, complex problem. So most of our people are passionate about being able to solve this very complex thing that we're trying to, it's a very complex business process we are trying to solve. And this business process that we're trying to solve for and improve on, it runs 10% of global GDP, right? So it's a very large problem. It's very complex. It's very different in different parts of the world. So I think that sheer diversity and complexity of the problem is one exciting thing for people. And the second is, I think, the whole culture part of it, where we just don't keep saying that we are a flat hierarchy. We truly feel it, right? Like how you communicate on a daily basis, how approachable you are as a leader, how hardworking you are as a leader, so that it's not that you are just telling people to work hard and be productive. You yourself are working with them. And I think that is very, very important in today's leadership, where you can't be hands-off. You have to be very hands-on.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in the next segment, we'll get into the guts of the business. But before we do, if I picked on anyone here and asked them to talk about you, what would they say about you?
I think one word they would use for me, and I don't know if, how much this is what they truly feel, but I think one thing that people think about me is that I'm a very resilient person. And once we decide something, and especially once Dhruvil decides something, it's only plan A. There's no plan B. I think that has its pros and cons. But I think there are more pros than cons of being fixated to one decision. Once a decision has been arrived at in a collaborative manner, you stick to it and you execute it till you win.
Should we go off to the next segment and talk a bit more about the business?
Absolutely.
Come. Dhruvil, you've gate crashed a market where there are some very big apex predators like an Oracle, right? And then there are tons of kind of SaaS-driven guys. I think there are 3,500 SaaS entrepreneurs in India, right? What is the competitive difference?
See, so the difference between us and our both kinds of competition is differently placed against the likes of Oracles and SAPs of the world, right? Which are our legacy software owners, kind of competitors. And these guys have grown so large, and this is not one only thing that they do, right? So first becomes our focus, because we are laser sharp focused on solving this particular problem of within supply chain. Oracle does supply chain software, HR software, financial software, and a bunch of things. And their sheer size makes it very difficult for them to understand the newer trends of the industry and what customers need.
Okay, you're focused, I get it. They're big, they're less focused, you're more focused, they're fatter, you're hungrier. Dhruvil, what else? Are you faster, quicker, cleverer? What's the deal?
First, like our cloud native approach, right? So a lot of these legacy softwares, when they have to turn into a cloud business, they upgrade their stack to a cloud, right? Versus businesses like us, and I'll talk more about the second kind of competition shortly, but the businesses like us, we are cloud native, we are mobile native, right? So we have built our architecture from ground up with this particular thought process. It allows us to ship code faster and upgrade faster with evolving customer needs.
I think the one major factor which differentiates LogiNext from its competitors is the people. The people in LogiNext are absolutely approachable, they're intelligent, and each one is accountable to their work. As a matter of fact, in LogiNext, we have a culture wherein you could walk up to any team at any level, have a very, very fruitful conversation with them, a frank conversation with them, and then basically share ideas and get your work done.
Okay, so focused, hungry, young, cloud-based, but now you've reached a kind of critical point. Why don't you just stop here? Enjoy the shareholder creation, take it easier. What's the thinking there?
Well, there's always an option to do that for any business and any entrepreneur. But I think it's a game of ambition, right? Then it comes to what's the end game? What are you chasing as an organization in life? What are you chasing as an individual in life? And what kind of people you have in your management team and your team, how hungry they are, how ambitious they are. We feel that we have so much ground to cover, like we have just touched the tip of the iceberg, and the market is still like widely open for us to kind of go and grab. This is not even a winner takes it all market. So I'm sure as we grow more, our competition also will grow, and there's a lot of ground to cover and a lot of customers to add. And we just want to keep doing it perpetually because we enjoy solving this problem, and this is life.
Okay, but I'm gonna wind the tape back. I'm so old-fashioned I talk about tapes. I'm gonna wind the process back to what you just said, which is, where do you want to go? Dhruvil Sanghvi, where do you want to go?
I think personally speaking, when I started, the ambition and the excitement part was innovation, right? Like building something that truly solves the problem, getting that few initial customers, getting the right people in your team so that you can kind of build more. As I grow in my journey, it also largely becomes about wealth creation, right? For the people around me and for myself and for my family, right? And I think that's something that I've seen that most people and most entrepreneurs somehow, in India at least, don't speak a lot about, right?
Yeah, people don't like saying it, right? I mean, you've got Gordon Gekko over here saying greed is good.
Yes.
And then you've got a lot of the Indian system kind of not talking about it or kind of looking at their feet. What's all that about?
I think the roots of this, this whole thought process of money is bad. I think it is coming from the lack of capitalism approach that India has traditionally taken, and of course, plus the past few centuries of history, where Indians were largely told to obey, right? And I think that is there's a lot of roots of that thinking that still creeps in, where this society and communities in India and economy at large has not seen the benefits when everybody makes money, right? And that's when somebody tries to kind of go out of the way, an unconventional way to create wealth for everyone, they're usually looked down upon.
Do you think it's changing though? If I look at all of your teammates here, they're all really young. Do you think they've crossed the Rubicon basically into a world where they're comfortable with money?
Absolutely. So the kind of people we hire are very different. We hire hungry people who want to grow professionally, do more things, and make a lot of money. Like most people face a lot of friction in the first 3 months.
Yeah.
But after 1 year, and that's why we have this thing that if somebody survives a few months at LogiNext, then they're here for life.
So somebody who wants to learn a lot of things, as a startup allows you to learn a lot of things and also showcase your capability, to the fullest extent, LogiNext would be the best place to be in.
But I like that, right? Because actually, if you're not a very different place to be, you're not very different, right? And if you're not very different, there are a lot of companies that feel very vanilla, and this company does feel a bit edgy.
It does, and I think that's what people come here for actually. So before people join, it's not that they had no idea about it. They know that they are joining a culture which is going to be a little different. They're going to feel friction, but when they actually feel it, there's always this, like temporary resistance that your natural self gives you until you settle down into the new way of life. And if I can add to that, in last 5 years, a lot has changed in India. The number one reason of that change is a lot of these tech startups, they truly became large businesses. There was always a question on the scale and the sustainability and the profitability part of these businesses, but they did it, right? Especially in this fiscal year, a lot of these new tech IPO'd companies are becoming cash flow positive, right? So I think that's a great sign of an ecosystem which is becoming matured. So more and more founders and entrepreneurs are starting up. They have more mentorship. They have more examples to look at. More capital is flowing in. And the second reason is the government, right? The government over the last 10 years has been very pro-economy. Their large focus is financial reforms, infrastructure reforms, attracting global capital to India, making India shine in front of the world, right? And I think that is kind of creating that confidence in Indian youth to go and make it big in future.
I should have put my money there 20 years ago. Okay.
Thank me later.
Should we go talk about you? Let's do it.
I'd love to.
Dhruvil, you're at the helm of this business, which is getting really quite big. You're personally invested in more than 50 tech companies. So you're in a good position to answer this question, which is, what is the secret of being an entrepreneur? What are the 2 or 3 things that you've really learned?
I think what I see across all the founders that I've invested in or I mentor, advise, and of course from my personal journey as well, the number one trait of an entrepreneur is resilience. You have to, especially in the early times, because a lot of things go wrong. Literally every day something goes wrong, especially in the first year or 2, in the initial phase of the journey.
Can you spot it though? So can you spot it early when you're invested in these new people? Do you have a feel for this guy being more resilient than this guy? Can you see it quite quickly?
I do, and that's why I also prefer not to invest into businesses which are waiting to raise capital before they launch the business or quit their jobs. Like that's my number one reason to not invest.
So we're in the kind of final furlong now, Dhruvil. Let's talk a bit about you, right? I've researched you in quite some depth, and you're an unusual guest because there's really a lot out there about you, but there's very little out there, about you, the person. Just tell us a bit about you. I'm not a psychologist, even though I like the idea they're going to come into their prime soon. Tell us a bit about you.
I think I'm generally a very value-driven, direct kind of a person in my personal life as well. I've had this, like me and all my friends, me and my wife, right? Even with my parents, right? The communication style is very, very raw, very direct. And also most of the conversations that I usually have in my personal life are also around some mission, right? It's not a business mission, but something. We are all like, we are building towards something. So we are always kind of doing something. And I think how I like define myself in one word is that I'm a chaser, generally. I like chasing. So even in my personal life, if I'm at a plateau, I'll have a trickle down effect into getting into a very bad state of mind very quickly.
Yeah.
So I have to keep chasing and keep the momentum alive.
But do you think you should? Is there a bit of you that thinks you should chill out a bit more, and you're basically running? You're running because you're running from something.
I've tried to do that. A lot of people have told me that sometimes it's okay to take a step back, relax, not do anything. Every time I not do anything for 12 hours, I usually I get anxiety on 13th hour.
One thing is for sure in our brief conversation, Dhruvil, that I'm going to get the hang of you is the here, the now, the focus is very much Dhruvil Sanghvi, right?
That is true.
And you're traveling in hope. Should we go and do some quick fire questions?
Absolutely.
Great, let's do it. Dhruvil, honestly, I could talk to you all day, and we'll come back and talk to you again, but it's a tradition of $1 billion idea to end with some quick fire questions. Are you game for that?
Let's do it.
Okay. New York or Mumbai?
Mumbai.
Mountains or ocean?
Ocean.
Insight or intuition?
Intuition.
Fame or anonymity?
Fame.
Eating in or eating out?
Eating in.
Dhruvil Sanghvi, it really is a pleasure to talk to you. We've learned so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Lovely questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I've seldom interviewed a guest about whom so much is known on the business side, but so little on the personal side. But having talked to Dhruvil, what I find is there's very little difference between the two. At home and at work, he's all drive, he's all process, he's all focus. Now, whether this will change with the birth of his first daughter, Gianna Lippi, only time will tell, and we wish him the best of luck. I'm Jasper Reid, and join me on the next episode of $1 Billion Idea.